Okay, hi everybody. So this is going to be a video where I do the same lab that Josh teaches us here for creating a SIEM tutorial for beginners. And basically we're going to be creating a honeypot VM and opening it up to the internet and letting everybody kind of attack it and check it out. So just a couple of things. Number one, my system is in Japanese, so it may look a little bit different. But you should be able to click on all the same places, and I'll try to point out as much as I can where I'm clicking. And also, I'm not a professional YouTuber, so this may not seem as clean as some of the other maybe projects or videos you've seen, but it should walk you through the couple of parts that have changed since Josh made his video, and I'll try to point those out along the way. So we're just going to get started, and first thing, I've already got my free Azure account, so you do need to kind of get through all of that. But once you've got that and you're logged in, you should see a screen like this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our virtual machine. So you just click on the virtual machines and create, and we're going to create an Azure virtual machine. So that brings us to the virtual machine creation screen. So the first thing that we want to do is you want to make the resource group. And this is just a resource group, as Josh explains, is basically kind of like a folder you can put everything we're going to create in. And that's very useful for a lot of reasons, but mainly it's useful for this is that it's easy to delete everything at the very, very end. Okay, so we're going to make a virtual machine, give it a name, so we're just going to call it Honeypot Lab, just call it Honeypot Lab VM. I'm in Japan, so we're going to leave my region as Japan East. We're going to create a Windows 10 machine. And then here we're going to create the username and password, so Honeypot user. And let's see. Hopefully I got those. Yep, looks like I got those both correctly. And then I'll point it out just because I seem to miss it all the time. You do need to click this license agree button here. So I'm just going to scroll through my notes here, and I believe that we got everything correct there. Disk we can leave just as it is. Next we're going to come to the network screen. We're going to go to the security group and click on details is what I believe it should say on your, if your Azure is set to English. So that's going to bring us to this network security group creation screen. So we've already got kind of a default here, and we're just going to go ahead and delete that one. So we're going to make a new incoming security rule. And so what we're going to do here is we want to make sure that the ports are open. And so we're going to just put a star there. That's going to basically open up everything. And then okay, we can go and set that to 100. And then for the name, we'll just call it Honeypot Network Open Firewall. It's a pretty specific name. So once you've got it in there, you should see that priorities at 100, any, and custom. So that, I believe, we'll click OK down here at the bottom, and if I remember correctly, we don't need to do anything else, so we can just go ahead and click on confirm and create. And this will take just a moment while it thinks and verifies that there isn't anything else. So it looks like we passed verification if you get that green ribbon at the top. And we'll go ahead and click create down at the bottom. And so this is going to take just a little while to deploy. So while it's doing that, we can move on to the next piece, which is going to be to create the log analytics workspace. So we'll come over here, and this is going to take just a minute. So right now we don't have a workspace, so in the upper left here we can click on create. And so we're going to make sure we add this to the Honeypot Lab. That's the work group that we're working in. And we're just going to call this Honeypot, or what, Honey Log? I think we call it Honey Log Analytics WS for workspace. I'm going to leave it in Japan East. And we'll go ahead and jump to the next, which is the tags. And I don't think we need any tags. So I'm pretty sure we can go ahead and just skip to verify and create. So verification is done, everything looks good. So we'll go ahead and get that created. Okay, so this next part here can sometimes take a little while. But let's go ahead and go to Microsoft Defender for the cloud. Okay, and once we're here, so this is where I think we're going to get into one of the first differences. Microsoft Defender for Cloud used to be called something else, so this may be a little bit different than the video that Josh had put out. But we'll go ahead and click on Environment Settings. So you should be able to, great, it looks like it's already ready. So you should be able to expand this Azure subscription, and you'll see Honey Log Analytics workspace. And so here's again where a couple things get different. This took me a little while to figure out. So in order to do the data collection, this server feature, I guess, needs to be turned on. That kind of automatically turns on the foundational CSPM, which is free. You know, you're given $200 a month, so this really shouldn't you know, affect you too much. So once that's turned on, oh, excuse me, and we need to save that. So we'll click the Save button there. And this can take just a moment to save. Okay, looks like we're done. Okay, so now coming over to the data collection, now if you were coming here before and you couldn't click any of these, you now should be able to click, I think this is like collect all or something, or, you know, collect all logs. So that needs to be able to be enabled and turned on, and then you'll want to click the save icon on that one as well. So we've gone ahead and we've turned on the data collection. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll go back to the log analytics workspace, and what we're going to do here is connect it with our virtual machine. So that should be done loading by now. So we go to the log analytics workspace, we'll click on our Honey Log Analytics workspace, and then this one also is a little bit different from Josh's video. So now the virtual machine link here is under classic, and for me it's second from the bottom. That really shouldn't change, I don't think. So click on that, you should see the VM, Honeypot Lab VM. You'll probably get a message here saying it's not connected, so we're going to click the connect button, I suppose, up there. And this can take just a moment to connect. So while it's doing that, I'm going to just skip ahead on my notes here. So while that's processing, I believe we can jump over to the next thing that we need to get to. So I'm just going to do that now. We'll see if it breaks anything. I'm not getting any warnings, so I think that we're fine to jump over to Microsoft Sentinel. So Microsoft Sentinel is Microsoft's SIEM product, I guess you could say. And we're going to go ahead and create. So click on your workspace, and then you should see, once you've clicked on it, you should see the add button in the lower left. That should become enabled, and you can click on it. So we'll go ahead and do that and click add. Right, and so it looks like we were able to add the, basically Microsoft Sentinel can now read from the log analytics workspace that we set up. Again, sorry, I'm just kind of going through the steps. So if you need more concrete detail about exactly what we're doing, obviously go back and check out Josh's video. I just wanted to make something that shows walks everybody through the steps of what we're doing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to log into our VM, and we're going to disable all of the firewall settings on the VM as well. So I'm going to use, so we need to get our public IP address. So let's go back to our virtual machine, and we're there. So the public IP address is this one here. Again, yours should probably say public IP. Mine also says that, just says it in Japanese. So we're going to go ahead and copy the public IP address, and then let's load it up in remote. Okay, everybody, we're back, and I just cut out a little bit there. I switched over to my desktop and don't want to show everything that I've got there. So, but basically, you'll just need to download Remote Desktop. If you're on Windows, I think it might come already installed. If you're on a Mac like I am, you'd have to go get it. But it's very, very simple. Just switch over to it, click Add, paste in the IP address. You don't have to do anything else. You can click, I think, Add or OK, and then you'll see the little icon for a new VM there. Double click it or click connect, and it will ask you for the username and password that we created at the very beginning. And then it will probably pop up a question about a certificate. You can just click yes or add, or I approve or something like that. And pretty quickly you should see a screen like what we see now, which is us loading into the VM itself. So. As I mentioned from here, what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the firewall. So again, these are never things you'd actually do in real life. You would never want to put anything out on the internet like this, necessarily, that it just anybody could ping or find, unless I suppose you were doing it for a reason. But I'm just going to turn all those off, even though I know we're probably not going to be using these for very long. And this will create a profile. The first time you log into something like this, it's probably creating your profile and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. So now we are on the VM, and take just a moment here. There we go. So if we come down into the search bar down on the task menu, and if you just type in the word, you can type in firewall, something like that, Windows Defender. Let's see. Yeah, sure. We can make it discoverable. We're not really doing much to defend it anyway, so. So we'll go ahead and open the Windows Defender firewall. Okay, so it looks like we are back. I don't know why, but my VM got disconnected, so I had to reconnect into it. We've now opened Windows Defender Firewall, so you'll just find that from the Start menu after you type in, for example, the word fire. We're going to go to the Advanced settings here. Go. And we're going to be looking at, there we go. So Windows Defender Firewall, you'll see this kind of main page pop up. We'll go to Windows Defender Firewall Properties, and basically what we're going to do is for domain, we're going to turn this off. Private profile, we're going to turn this off, and public profile, let's go and turn that off. So again, nothing you'd actually want to do in real life, but we're really trying to make this thing about as vulnerable as possible. So at this point, Josh, he tries to ping it. I do recommend you try pinging it and see if you can. I'm pretty sure that we're good to go, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. So the next thing that we need to do is we're going to load up Windows, PowerShell, and we want to do this ISE version of Windows PowerShell. And then I think Josh I think he does it like on his VM maybe. But I've actually just copied it already onto a text file. So anyway, you'll need to go and get the code that he's written that is basically this script that is going to go into the Windows Event Viewer. It pulls out any remote desktop login attempt and then starts to pick through it and pulls out those some of the information from that. So you'll need to go get that. As I said, check out his part of the video, and he's got links directly to it in the description. Let's turn on the script pane. So I'm just going to skip over and... Okay, so I've jumped over to his script, and I grabbed it and I pasted it in. So I am also going to delete out his API key, and I'm going to type in my key, but I'm not going to actually do that on the screen, just for various reasons. I'm really not so worried about people using it. It's free, but you only get 1,000 a day, that kind of thing. Anyway, once you type it in, you're going to click this green run script, and that's going to create like this log file and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, again, you can go and check his video for this part. He goes much more in depth about what's going on here. But I'm just going to kind of go through it and go on to the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and I ran the script, and we're just going to take a quick look at the file that it creates, which I think he said goes to program data. Yes, so C drive program data, and so it will create this file called failed_RDP. Again, yours should kind of look like this, and this is just going to be the kind of test data that it spits out. So again, he goes much more into depth on this in his video, and so I'm just going to instead skip back to the next part that we go to. Okay, so here we are, we're back in Azure now, and we're going to go back to the log analytics workspace. And when we go in here, we're going to click on the log analytics workspace, and then there should be, under the settings, there should be table. So it kind of has 3-4 lines in the icon there. And in this case, we're going to create, and we're going to use the MMA base. Okay, so it's going to ask us, okay, so again, this check out Josh's video. Basically, I just grabbed the file off of my hard drive that contains the kind of data that we were going to test or train the log analytics workstation on. So, yep, that looks kind of, that looks like what's in there. So we'll just go next. And now we're going to tell it where to find the actual log analytics file. So this is pretty important that we get this correct. And it's in the program data failed RDP .log file. So you can go and copy and paste that if you want, but I've just typed it in. Okay, so, and custom log name, so it's also pretty important that we don't forget this name here, so I'm going to call it failed, what did we call it? Failed remote RDPW with geo_cl. I think that is what we ended up calling it, and I'll show you in a second why we called it that. Okay, so we've got all that in there. Oh, looks like that appended CL twice to it. I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, right there. So I guess we just have to, I'm just going to go with it. Normally, I guess we would not want to actually put _CL to it, that appended it itself. But I'm just going to go with it, and you'll see why in a second, why that's kind of important. Okay, so now that we have pointed it to the log, we need to kind of tell it what we want it to do with it. And so what we're going to do is click on this log under the outline options, and it's going to load up all this, tell us all this stuff about a query. Okay, so in Josh's video, he goes through and he actually does all this manually, but if you go and look in the comments of his video, you'll actually see that somebody has, they've already just typed it out. So if we come down here, we look at the comments, yeah, this one right here. So this is why, oops, let me make sure I grab just the right part, there we go. So this first part up here, failed RDP with geo. This is why we need to make sure that this matches the what we called it in the earlier step. So we're going to go ahead and paste that, and I had called it, there we go. So I had called it, instead of that, I called it failed RDPW with geo. Oh, there we go, good. And obviously it sees what we wanted. So I'll run this right now, and I don't know what we're actually going to get out of it. Yeah, so this may take 10 or 15 minutes for this to actually show some results. So I'm not going to really wait around and for it to do that. I've used this code before, and so I know that it works, and you don't have to go through all that steps that Josh shows where you're training it. Not that that's not good information. I don't even know if that feature is still on here. That was what I found when I tried to do it, is I couldn't even find the, you know, the option to train the data. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and you know, assume that that works. So what we're going to do is we want to copy this, and now we're going to go back over to Microsoft Sentinel, and let's see, sorry, do I want to save this? No, I'm actually not going to worry about saving that. I don't think we need to. If you've copied it already, then it should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and say, nope, we're not going to save it. Okay, so going back over to Microsoft Sentinel, we'll jump into our connected log analytics workspace, and it's going to kind of give us a whole bunch of different options here. But what we want to do is we want to click on this link here that says book. And again, it's going to kind of load up a little bit, and then we want to add a book. Okay, so you should see a screen here that says something like new workbook, and it may take a second here as it loads up some default kind of settings that it gives us. Yeah, as of right now, you may get this thing saying, hey, there's no results from your query. That's fine. Again, it may take a little while before these results start to show up. So I'm actually, as Josh shows, we're going to delete these out. And so those are gone. So now we're going to add our own, and we're going to do a query. And we're just going to now paste in, you know, what we had found from the what we used previously. Under this option here, we're going to choose map, and so this is what's going to basically go out and create the map that we're going to see everything on. So I'm going to go ahead and click you know, done editing and save. All right, and oh, sorry, we need to do one more thing. So we're going to go back and oh, okay. So edit, and then edit. Coming back in, you'll see this button here, map settings. So we do need to go to the map settings, and we're going to just change. Okay, I guess without it actually returning any results, it may not let us change the settings, but you would go in there and under the metric label, you would choose label, and then I'm pretty sure that's all. Then you can just click apply and come back. So once you start getting some data coming through here, you'll start to get the results in the map. So I'm going to just go ahead and end the video here. And hopefully that helped you maybe get through some of the steps that might have been a little bit confusing previously. If you like this, cool. I'm going to maybe try to make some other ones, just again demonstrating going through the labs, and I think it's good to see it in different environments and watching different people do it. So.